Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Qualia. In this episode of Qualia, we're going to talk about advertisements and the impact they've had on the society. So, hope you enjoy. Rohan, I think it's essential that we mention why we chose to talk about advertisements.
We all have about 24 hours in a day. And of this 24 hours, most of us are awake for say 16 to 18 hours. And of these 16 to 18 hours, we keep our eyes open. Most of this time is spent on looking at screens. For example, I almost spend 3 to 4 hours daily on my mobile phones, and my time is divided between Chrome, Twitter or Instagram or YouTube. And the strange thing is I don't pay to any of these services. I'm sure of the billions of users that they have, like me, almost no one would be paying them any real money. Yet they continue to offer their services and we use it. Yet they maintain their profits in billions. It is possible because we live in what is known as the attention economy. In today's digital and information age, we have access to all the knowledge that is available in the world. And internet has made it possible that we could access anything or everything that we want just in a matter of few clicks. So I feel that our attention is in huge demand. So I feel our attention is being used by these company as a commodity. The attention capturing capability of a company today is directly proportional to the amount of money that it makes. Literally, they are being paid for holding our attention, and they are using this as a resource on which they thrive and survive. And this attention economy and information age that we are living in today is only feasible because of advertisement. A research suggests that typical human being today is bombarded with 3,000 advertising messages each day. I sometimes feel that this is so less because after spending a couple of hours on YouTube, all I remember is the annoying Zomato and Domino's ad. And after watching them, like I don't know, infinite number of times, I sometimes feel that this number is quoted way below than 3,000. And advertisements are something that not only forms the base of our modern economy, but it is also one that forms directly or indirectly a large part of the information or entertainment that we consume daily. One more thing is that advertisements are the mechanism on which the 400-year-old newspapers and the 20-year-old Facebook both survive on. So, yeah, I think they are important and we must talk about them.
Okay, here I think that we should talk about the effects that advertisement has had on society collectively on a grander scale. Now, you take for example, advertisement has set stereotypes in society that we could never break possibly in 100 years. For example, cigarettes. Cigarettes have been marketed through advertisements, a tool of exhibit of manliness. It's been like what? It's been like 100 years since the cigarette advertisements are coming, or more than that. Now, since then, cigarette has been associated fairly largely with manliness. You see Hollywood, pop culture everywhere. Cigarettes are thought of something cool to do. Despite how hazardous it is to the health, I think cigarette is the archetypal success of advertisements. How can you market poison to people and people buy it? I think it's really unfathomable how successful cigarette industries have been. And coming up next, I have to talk about the razor industry. The razor industry, I don't want to mention the name of any specific company since I don't have an account of which came first. So there are a set of razor companies which have marketed that the smoothness of a woman's skin is a measure of femininity in the women. If you are a woman who has to be desired by men, you have to have a skin so smooth that the whole world claims you to be hot. I think we are forgetting the fact that we evolved like just 2 million years ago from our ancestors who were basically chimpanzees. Isn't advertisement creating stereotypes all across the world? And aren't people inherently suffering because of that? Aren't people going through some kind of identity crisis? May it be gender wise, may it be, health wise, or what do you think?
Okay, I'll give another example and I'll come to the point that you have spoken about. Humans are social beings. Okay, we celebrate love. We love each other. We want to show it to the people who we love, and this is what humans have been doing for so many years. Even in those tribal days when there was no advertisements, humans used to, it's like, hunt a big deer or for their loved ones, and they would gift it to them. So we have been showing our love from so many years. And companies like Cadbury, which bring out during the Valentine's Day, use this fact that we celebrate love, and they use it in such a way that they market their product like, say, a Dairy Milk Silk, and they tell to the listeners that you celebrate love, which you will eventually be doing, but you celebrate it using our chocolate, our product, on the Valentine. So, in a way, advertisement is mirroring and molding the society. I feel advertisements do this important job of mirroring what the society looks like or what the society is, and it molds what the society must do.
Advertisements, they have a very effective way of communicating to you. For example, take an advertisement featuring David Beckham and assume that the company wants to sell watches to you. It has David Beckham wearing the watch that they are trying to market to us. And how does it market it to us? It shows us he's wearing like a $10,000, $20,000 suit, and he's wearing that watch, and he's getting into a very big party, and women start taking notice of him. For example, I'm supposing an advertisement like this. Now, what happens here? They're letting us know that you are someone who's not David Beckham. You're someone who sucks. But if you buy our product, you'll be relatively less of a sucker than you already are. So, what do we think? What do we think looking at that? I mean, most of us have realized that we're never going to be David Beckham. So, what do we realize from this? We see this and we think that I think advertisement pinpoints our self esteem, it pinpoints our level of self esteem, and it takes someone who's very high in the social dominance hierarchy, and it tries to show us the difference in power, the difference in levels of existence. So, what do they say? They say that you're not this person, but you can get an infinitesimal distance closer in the dominance hierarchy to that person if you were to buy our product. And we end up buying the product. So, what do you think? Doesn't this create some kind of identity crisis where people don't feel sufficient with what they already are? I know that it all boils down to the capitalism problem, but still, don't you think that identity crisis like this, and there are sometimes differences, but not between individual people. Sometimes advertisements put differences between people of a demography, like racism. For example, like fairer is beautiful. What do you think about setting stereotypes like this, which are really not rational at all?
Yeah, Pradeep. You see, advertisements do the job of showing us the utopia. The word utopia, it points to a perfect society in which all the people are happy. It's an ideal thing. You know, the ideal gas that we studied in chemistry. There is no such thing as ideal gas, but it's the perfect gas. Every gas, we expect to behave it like an ideal gas, but there is no such thing as ideal gas. And if you see the etymology of the word utopia, it's a Greek word, and it has two meanings. One origin goes to the word utopos, which spells as EU hyphen topos, meaning the good place. And there's another etymology, which is utopos, the alphabet U hyphen topos, which means the place that cannot be. I think ads do exactly that. These ads, in a way, show us the good place, but it's always, in a way, a place that cannot be. I think every modern advertisement is something between the two feeling. And the racism that advertisements portray these days, that the whiter your skin, the fairer you are, these kind of boundaries that they have been creating in the present day, I think they are already using the fact that movies and everything that have been using white females as their lead. Even if you see in the South Indian movie industry, South India is basically people where you can find of dark skinned people. But if you see the South Indian movies, even though the majority people are dark skinned, you see casting of white female lead. So advertisements and companies use this fact of boundaries that had been created in people's mind by other industries like movies and others. So they use this fact and they are basically mirroring and using their ads and molding the society as they want to. They are showing this utopia that yeah, everybody must become like David Beckham, and you can't be, but with the product you could get closer to that ideal thing. I think that's the whole philosophy of how advertisements are working these.
So, so I'll steelman what you just said. You're saying that advertisement analyzes the social stigma of certain issues and it mirrors and uses some kind of amplification to market their products. But that way, this action has an opposite reaction back on the society where the social stigma has got either stronger or weaker. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I think we're at a perfect place now. I think this is time. I want to play an audio clip. Most of you might recognize this audio clip. This audio clip is from one of the most famous movies, Fight Club by David Fincher. And this has almost summarized whatever we are saying. This one scene, it has summarized it in a single dialogue by Brad Pitt or Tyler Durden in the movie.
God damn it, an entire generation pumping gas, waiting tables, slaves with white collars. Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate so we can buy shit we don't need. We're the middle children of history, man. No purpose or place. We have no great war, no great depression. Our great war is a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives.
Whoa, every time I hear this, it just gives me goosebumps. It all makes sense. How ads are the most visible manifestation of capitalism. If you see, it appeals to the interest of the consumer, but for the selfish gain of the producer. How cool and ironical is it at the same time?
Yes. And I think that this whole movie, it is a strong critic of the capitalist, consumerist, materialist world. And this movie made us feel that we are all robots and we are all functioning on an algorithm designed by the capitalist and materialist society. And if you haven't watched the movie, kindly check it out. So, Ron, I think here we have to talk about how constructive advertisements have been in the society. Like, for example, it has been marketing racism through fairness creams for almost 50 years now. And okay, I know that if we boil this down, like for example, someone is selling tea, but they don't sell tea, they sell a lifestyle. Someone who's chilling on a Sunday afternoon, having a sip of green tea, I think they don't sell just tea leaves. I think they sell a lifestyle. I can claim that this difference in lifestyle is not fair. But then I don't want to sound like a communist. I'm fine with the capitalist and materialistic world because this is lesser evil. I don't claim that this is a saint, but I know that this is lesser evil. The whole world is coming out of poverty. It's because of capitalism and materialism. So what I'd like to ask here is, where do we draw the line? Advertisements which cross this boundary, they are unfair. That way, where do we draw the line?
See, if we reflect back on everything that we have spoken about advertisement, I don't see a single good thing. And if I even went on searching Google that what have been the benefits of advertisements to the consumers that are watching it, not to the manufacturers who are advertising their products, I can't find that many. The one thing that I found was, you see, India is the only country where you could find so many vegetarians. Okay, but India is also the only country where out of these many vegetarians, so many people eat egg. This is a strange thing for any foreigner who is listening to this, but there is a role that advertisement has played in it. You see, from the late 90s and early 2000s, what happened was the National Egg Commission heavily advertised the use of eggs. You see, uh, India was just being economically liberalized and people were getting out of poverty, and eggs had this strange quality of being low cost and high nutrient value. So you had government advertising that for people to be nutritious and people to fill their stomach with good nutrients, you had to eat egg. So it's almost the total work of advertisements that have converted so many vegetarian families in India to egg eating vegetarians. And in no way I'm implying that egg eating vegetarians are not vegetarians, but it's just to show the fact that you could make so many people eat egg and just by using the power of advertisement. So yeah, advertisements in the past have been used in such constructive ways also. I think a good advertisement is anything that keeps in mind the sentiments of people. You see, as soon as the George Floyd protest happened, you had companies who were previously advertising that whiter is fairer, now advertising that their products will make you more brighter rather than using the term white or black. So I see that if as a manufacturer and as an advertiser, if you keep in mind the people's emotions, I think you can make good advertisement.
Of course, keeping the interests of the society in mind while making advertisements. That's right. And I think it's time that you talked about any of the advertisements which has heavily influenced you from childhood. I think it's high time that you talked about it.
I started hating advertisements only when I realized what it did with my childhood. See, all my childhood I remember is seeing bright yellow colored food, steam coming from the hot boiling water, the easiness of the whole process, promise of a tasty snack in 2 minutes, green and orange vegetables, and all this for just 10 rupees. The information that they gave in these ads about the noodles was so compelling that I would buy them almost every time I got 10 rupees from anyone. And now, when I realized that instant noodle was nothing but not even so much healthy or tasty, now that I understand it, I feel that advertisements have been cheating me my whole childhood. And when I feel that I have been cheated by someone, I that makes me angry. So it's like it gets me to a point where I question, are advertisements useful? It's like, do they have any purpose, or they are just for the pure capitalist reasons that we have been talking about?
So yeah, this world as it is fueled by capitalism, consumerism, and materialism. And no matter how many times it goes to war with our spiritual development, I think it's essential that we understand the necessity of living in such a world. People always talk about wealth redistribution, same lifestyle for everybody. Yes, it's fair. It'll be nice for everyone to be sitting in their home lawns, sipping green tea at a Sunday afternoon. But that way, people have tried it. People have tried giving everyone teas to sip on Sunday afternoons, and it didn't go well. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, go and read the history of any communist nation in the past century. Here, I'm not being an anti commie or a pro capitalist. I'm just putting out naked truths. If you see the global economic index, world is coming out of poverty at a rate at which it had never come out before. So, what I'd like to insist here is the necessity of the capitalist materialist world is also crucial and essential for elevating the lifestyle of humankind as a whole. Of course, there are people who are million times richer than us, but still, there are people who are million times poorer than us, and those people they are getting a chance to come up in life too. With all this in mind, I think this doesn't give capitalism or advertising the liberty to invade people's privacy or to divide people based on their demography, skin color, or gender. So I think there should be better norms in advertising. That way, it doesn't create a new social stigma which is wrong or make an existing wrong social stigma powerful. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yes, I may feel that Maggie has cheated me all my childhood, and presently I think I have the same relation with Zomato and Domino's with their advertisements on YouTube. But I think in a way, these advertisements have allowed me to have access to things like cartoons in which the advertisements of noodles would come, and say YouTube, in which the Zomato and Domino's advertisements are being bombarded. I think these advertisements today give us access to facilities like Google or YouTube, or to say even these podcasts. If you think about it, even the torrent sites would not function without the clickbaity advertisements that they have. I think advertisements in that way are very important. If we think more deeply about it, every art form in this world does three things in one form or the other. It prosecutes, it politicizes, or it preaches. Advertisements exactly does this. It preaches the product, it politicizes the use of the product, and it subconsciously prosecutes us for not using the product. And the best thing is that the ads are so simple and they could be understood by majority of people. And the surprise is that it does all this in a matter of few seconds, and it's effective because in 2019 alone, over 800 billion Indian rupees has been the revenue of advertising agencies in India. Keeping all these facts in mind, I could conclude in a way that advertisements could be the most powerful art form on the whole planet Earth. Yeah, I may hate Maggie, or I may hate Zomato, or I may hate Swiggy or Domino's. However bad they may be, these companies and through their advertisements actually enable us to do things once humanity imagined doing.
To quote Leo Burnett, an American advertising executive and the founder of Leo Burnett Company, open quote, make it simple, make it memorable, make it inviting to look at, make it fun to read, end quote. Along with all this, make it more sensitive. Take care that you don't reinforce any wrong social stigma which is already existing or put a new wrong social stigma into place. So let's advertise, but sensitively. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode of Qualia. Thank you for listening to us. We would love to hear on what you think about our show, and you can always mail us your comments at pod.qualia@gmail.com, or you could follow us on Instagram. Stay tuned and see you guys in the next one.